is It's All Good. Look who's here for a chat. I'm super excited to come here every week to see you, to bring you guests that are amazing, that bring different perspective. I don't have a specific kind of guest that comes here because you're not a specific kind of people that listen. And I want to serve everyone. And a lot of the interview are very intricate and very interesting. So today, we're going to talk about preparing yourself for your future. But before we get started, I want to say why I call this show It's All Good, and I'll make it short because I say that all the time. So whoever listens to the show say, okay, get over with. So it's because my favorite cup, it says It's All Good. Whenever I was looking for a name, I say, hey, it's all good. That's how I live my life. Because whatever happened in the past, you can't change it, and I'm done. Like, I've had years of carrying the past with me, and I say, okay, that's it. I don't want to carry that past with me anymore, so it's all good. It's lesson learned. I can't change it. Let's move on. And the future, we'll talk about the future with my guest, but you can't predict the future. You can get ready for it, you can plan, and you have to be ready for any eventuality where the shit hit the fan and things don't turn out the way you want. But that's okay because you're prepared, you have a positive mindset, you're moving forward, and life is awesome. So I'll go straight to my guest, which is Rosemary Carminati. And she say, oh, I like how you say my name. And I'll have her to tell you how she says her name. And she's the owner of Healthy Connections. So let's welcome her in, and let's go and discover who she is and what she does. So welcome, Rosemary. I'm so happy that we're having that conversation. We already had like a 20-minute chat before and say, hey, are we recording this? No, maybe we should, we should start the show.
Yes.
So here we are. So welcome, Rosemary.
Thank you so much, Denise. I loved some of the things you said in your introduction. The first thing I wanted to say before I even tell you why I'm here is that I think it was Tony Robbins that says the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty you can comfortably live with.
Exactly. Because you don't know what's coming up. Like, like what's the story? You can cross the road and get hit by a train or a car by a train. That would be weird on the road, but by a car at least. And but you never know what's going to happen to you. So it's just like, why don't you choose to be happy today, right now? Right now is the perfect time. We're here, you and I. We're talking with one another, and it's awesome. And our guests are listening. It's even better.
And
So
you just hit upon another thing besides the fact that the number one source of stress is people's expectations. They think they
mhm.
can control things they can't control. But when you said today's the perfect day, well, I wake up every morning and I have a Winnie the Pooh saying that is, today is my new favorite day, but I add to it and I'm going to squeeze every drop of life out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and
And
I
that's
think
my
and
philosophy.
if you have a hard time doing that, something I didn't say in my introduction, so let me bring that up. You can book a call with me. We'll know how to reach Rosemary later, but you can book a call with me with tiny.cc/talk with Denise. So if anytime you want either be on the show or you want to explore how to create a life where it's like every day is beautiful. It's not always easy, but you can make it beautiful. So book a call with me, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel at right here, youtube.com/ at Denise Bellil. So you'll have all the previous episode. This episode will go there after the show, and we'll be happy to have a chat with you and talk about that. So Rosemary, what do you do? You're a owner of Healthy Connection. So what is that about?
Okay, well, it's a combination of several things. I'm a personal development trainer. I'm a transformational speaker. I love to spread the message of hope,
Mhm.
that there is so much more to explore and discover in our second half of life. And then I also have several programs that are transformational that challenge some of our beliefs, a lot of our beliefs. And I truly believe that if we don't live authentically, we're not truly fulfilled.
Mhm.
And there are so many people in the world that are saying one thing, feeling another, and walking around
Unfortunately, yeah.
not in congruence with who
Yeah.
they want to be.
Yeah, they want to please the people that are in front of them. And like I'm going to be 60 this week, and I know that
Love
it's not working. You can't please other people. You can only please yourself. Be happy with who you are, and the people will be attracted to the person you are, as opposed to try to please others with fake image and like the way I am now, that's the way I am outside of this little
Mhm.
box, right? Like I'm not pretending. I baffle a lot and I say things weird sometime and I have a weird accent and but that's who I am. That's how I am. And I make funny jokes sometimes. They're not so funny, but that's when and I see that you're the same too, Rosemary, right? I mean, what I see now, I'm sure if we were hanging out, and go for a coffee, then, then you would be the same person, right?
Well, yeah, and you know what? It saddens me, and I think that's where I found my mission that's compelling now, is that there are so many people I know that in appearances, in the books, if you looked at their finances, if you
Mhm.
looked at their lifestyle, you'd say, "Wow, they got it all together. They're very happy." And then when you get deep down inside and you find out they're on their third divorce, their children don't talk to them, they're addicted to a substance or another, or they just are not happy. I have a good friend who I thought was happy, and about 3 years ago she said, I wake up every day and I just feel this aching. There's something missing.
Yeah.
And what I want to do with the folks that I take through my program is help them find that. And one of my taglines is there is more. Let's discover it together. And
Yeah.
what has morphed in my programs is that, when you start a new business and you start to try to figure out who's my niche audience, who do I want to attract, who do I want to
Mhm.
work with,
Mhm.
they find you. And
Yes.
in the last couple of years, my programs, they're applicable to every generation. There is not a person from a teenager till the last breath that couldn't benefit from some of the things that I teach.
Yeah.
But what has happened is that I've become, I like to say, like the Pied Piper of people in their 50s
Yeah.
that are thinking about either retiring or they had a major career shift due to COVID, things like that,
Mhm. Mhm.
and but especially planning for retirement. And they have believed, and there's this illusion that we retire, this is when we're going to be happy. We work, we
Yeah.
work all our lives, and we're working that consciousness of by me, that if I do it, if I achieve it, it's all going to come to fruition in the end. So they reach retirement 6 to 9 months into it. They look around and they say, is this it?
Yeah.
Why am I getting out of bed every day? Where is my significance? And that, I mean, to me, when I started talking to people and realized that's my niche, there is a epidemic of people not only that are lonely in the world, but there are people that have worked their whole life, and then when they get to retirement, the aging process accelerates.
Yeah, yeah, because they have no more purpose, right? They have no more goal. And that's why we connect so well together, because often when I promote my service, I work with, the same age group. And like for me, I focus on people that are empty nesters or becoming empty nesters. And empty nesters could be with the kids, but also when you lose a spouse or when you lose a dear pet that you've had
Mhm.
for 15, 20 years, right? Like anything feels so empty. You feel like you're all by yourself and you're missing whatever used to be there and not. And I say how to rock the second half of your life. And that's
Mhm.
why we're so connected, right? Like
Yes.
we have the same mentality towards the people we're serving, that there's more to life than what you think there is, right? Like
And
you
better,
can't.
it gets better.
Yeah.
Even when, as you said while we were off camera, when the proverbial shit hits the fan, even on those days. I mean, I work with a gentleman who's an expert in blue zones, and the blue zones in the world are the areas that geographically, not only does the government and the culture revere and respect the elderly,
Oh, okay.
but there are no mandatory retirement ages. It's actually, it's we look at the older folks for their wisdom, their
Yeah.
experience. Now in the United States, we have the exact opposite. We look at it as you've served your purpose, now go away.
You're discarded. Yeah.
You just go. And what
And we
I
see
learned,
that a lot also with, unfortunately, for what I hear, what I read in the news, like the veteran, right?
Oh gosh, that's a
That's even
whole other.
worse,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, and
Like,
that
yeah,
those are all.
thank you for your service, but
Yeah, next.
that's
What have
it.
you done
Yeah,
for me lately?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what I discovered.
Expendable, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially the elderly and the
Yeah.
veterans. But what I discovered in working with this gentleman that's an expert in blue zones is that, and I say this research quite often when I just have to come out and do a quick speech, and I'll say, did you know that the two most dangerous years in your life are the year you're born because of infant mortality rates? So we have all surpassed that,
Yeah,
yay.
yeah, yeah.
And the second one is the year you retire.
Mm-hmm.
And by living life with purpose, you can add 7 years or more to your longevity.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
what a difference. And I live it and experience it because I am of that age. I'm 62. I've witnessed friends and family members that have been thriving, vibrant people and then retired without purpose.
Yeah.
And it just, like I said, it saddens me to see the downhill. It's almost a resolution that they get. I have a couple of friends that have said, well, I can't do that anymore, or I can't do that anymore. Like,
Mm-hmm.
wait a minute, you're
Mm-hmm.
physically capable of doing it, or maybe you can't run because of your knees or whatever. So you find a different activity.
Yeah, exactly.
And the epidemic that happens in retirement is that there are a lot of people in our culture, and I probably globally, but especially I can only speak of the folks in the United States and of a certain generation, mine and older, that made their identity. It was their what they did for a living, how
Yeah,
much money they made,
yeah.
those kind of things. And
Like
yet all
the Sigma of the house with the white picket fence, right? And the
yes.
kids and
Yeah, but I think of a lot of the men my husband's age and their fathers, their identity was if you talk to them and they said, "Hi, I'm Joe, whatever, I do such and
yeah,
such."
yeah, of course.
And I've often said it to my husband, there are so many other facets. You're the best husband, the best father, the best grandfather, an amazing friend. How about philanthropist, the things you do for charity, all those wonderful things that
You're
make
more than
who
your
you
job.
are.
Yeah,
And yet there is this idea that we are what we're worth
yeah,
financially or
yeah,
what
yeah.
we do for a living. And
Mm-hmm.
what happens when that is gone? I mean, I start out with, and I think this is something that anyone can look at, whether you're retiring, whether you're just thinking of making a change, anything, moving to a new area. The I'm not sure if it's Tony Robbins, and I'm probably going to say things quite often while we're talking where I'm not sure where I got it from because I've been doing
Yeah, I
this
know.
time.
We fill ourselves
And
with so much
and
knowledge.
and
Yeah,
who knows? Tony Robbins might have gotten it from Abraham Hicks, who got it from Gandhi, who got it from
yeah,
whatever.
exactly,
So
exactly.
we all end up saying almost the same things. But the one thing that I firmly believe in when we're making those decisions or deciding what we want to do or be for the rest of our lives, we need to look at our psychological
Well-being.
needs,
Yeah,
our psychological needs. And when people think of what are your needs in order to live, they think of water, air, food, shelter, but your basic psychological needs, there's 6 of them. And if you can look at those psychological needs for yourself and decide what drives me, what makes me
mhm,
do the things I do, and it might surprise some people. Like
yeah,
for me, it was black and white. I mean, the first psychological need is the need for certainty. I do not need that. I grew up in a lot of various things of chaos. I had a sister that was always sick. I mean, I was kidnapped when I was younger. I've had a whole bunch of other stuff that makes up a really juicy story that I'm going to write someday. But the need for certainty for some people is so
yeah,
intense.
yeah.
And so they're stressed out
They
their whole
need to
life.
know. They need to know that they'll be okay. They need to know what's coming ahead. They need
And
to
who
know.
knows? And until you start discovering that that's an important thing to you, if
Yeah,
you're not aware of that, then you wonder why you're stressed all the time. Well,
yeah,
that's one of the reasons. Now,
yeah.
the second need is the need for uncertainty. Now, some people don't need that at all. Those are the people that I say love to live, to work in a cubicle. They live
Mhm.
in the town they were born in and they pass away in the town they were born in. And That's lovely if that's what they want.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
not me. I could never do that. I couldn't punch a time clock. I need adventure. I need new
Yeah.
people. I love experiencing different things. Another basic psychological need is significance. Now, everyone wants to feel significant. I mean, you want to know that you've made a difference in the
Yeah.
world when you're gone. But for some people, it's extreme. Now,
Mm-hmm.
those people in retirement really get knocked for a loop, because if you're the person that's used to the title and you're used to doors opening for you and yes, sir, no, sir, and that's a great idea, sir, and you're standing in Stop and Shop and nobody cares who you are, you're the same person as the one behind you and the one in front of you, it really can be devastating for some people.
Yeah,
It
of
really
course.
can, to their psyche and their identity. Now, this next psychological need is my favorite, because although there are a few people in the world that say they don't need it, I don't believe it. It is the need for love. I
Mm.
don't think there's a person alive, even
That
if
don't need
they're
love.
Ebenezer Scrooge, they might say they don't need it, but deep down inside,
Of
that's what
course. Of
motivates them.
course. Of course.
We want to feel love, and the first person you should be loving is yourself.
Yeah.
And there are people out there that don't love themselves. So I work on that. And that feeling of love, too, a lot of times people get that from their environment. And we'll be talking about that right before we're done. Is I have a freebie giveaway that helps you with figuring out who you need to have in your environment, because that's essential in feeling your relationships are so important, and your relationship with yourself and the relationship of others are really what helps you have the best life you can possibly have.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the last two psychological needs, again, these were easy for me. I went through these. I went check, check, no, no, no. Very easy. But the last two, I always say, kind of go together. Growth.
Mm-hmm.
We all need to be growing.
Mm-hmm. And we're
Physically,
not talking about the waste. We're talking about
no.
the mind.
Mind. We needed the growth in the beginning
Yeah.
physically, but mind, if we're not
Yeah.
growing emotionally, spiritually,
Mm-hmm.
psychologically, we're stagnating, we're
Yeah.
atrophying, and then we're getting closer to death. I mean, so growth, and
Well, that's the old adage, right? Use it or lose it.
yeah. And if you've come from a job that you've worked in 40 years, now there's not too many jobs that are so mundane that you don't have any growth. There's
Mm-hmm.
always day to day some new experience that helps you grow
Yeah. Yeah.
personally, psychologically, intellectually, whatever. But all of a sudden, you retire and you've got Netflix and you've got nothing else to stimulate you and grow. So growth is essential for me. It has always been. I will be reading, looking, finding, figuring out. I live in a state of question. I'm always looking to see what makes that work, or what,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe that that's what I know, that's what makes me tick. And so if you start looking at some of these psychological needs and decide where you fit in. Oh, I didn't get to the sixth one. The sixth one is contribution.
Mm-hmm.
I have a philosophy, and I think if you look at most research, or if you look at most very successful billionaires, the ones that are truly happy are the ones that also contribute.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
you can have all the money in the world and you keep it all to yourself. Are you truly happy inside?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So those are the six psychological needs. And I don't think there's a person alive that wouldn't benefit from taking a look at what drives me. What
Mm-hmm.
are the things before I make a decision? What is it that helps me decide yes or no? And what are the areas, let's say I thought growth was important to me, but I'm not doing anything about it.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Because once you do this evaluation, then what I do, it's that in some ways it's similar. Is I get people to find what are their values, what's your value, what's important to you in your life,
Yes.
and what's your mission, like what do you
Mhm.
want to accomplish, what's your vision, but not like a business vision, but we all have our own vision of what the world should look like, and what's our contribution into the world, and what's our mission, what can we do in our life and in the life of others, and our values. And when you're not aligned, whenever your action, and that's what you were getting at, when your action are not aligned with your value and your mission and vision, then that's when happiness is not happening, right?
Oh,
Like,
oh,
because
you can
you're
be
you're like
miserable.
hitting yourself, right? It's like hitting a brick wall. It's like you're trying to do things, but it goes totally against your own principle, but you do it for whatever other reason, but that doesn't bring you happiness. And once you start having action that are aligned with your purpose, your value, your goal in life, what you want to accomplish, having contribution and everything, then it helps you, right, to bring back that energy of growth, of wanting to learn, wanting to contribute, and like opening your visor and looking at other people than just you and the little world that's here. And so that makes a huge difference in someone's life for sure.
Well, it's funny you say that. That's the next step I do with people in my program is after we discover, okay, your basic psychological needs and what determines your actions, the values is very funny. I have an exercise that sometimes takes several hours, and it's surprising how many people, first of all, that cliche, they live the imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
but also that there are values that were imposed on them, things that they really truly, when they stop and think, oh, my parents said that was important, but do I really think that's important?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
when they dig through and they sift and they come up with, we talk about maybe our top 4 or 6 values that we really want to spend every day living. The surprising thing is, like for me, I found that I was living them after many years of self-development. But my partner, who went through some of my training with me, had some issues because one of her major values was fun. And she said, I cannot think the last time that I
I
had any
had
fun.
fun.
So when we start to look at all of that stuff, it gives us that direction.
Yeah.
That's why in
So then it's
retirement,
like, how do you rock the second half of your life? It's like, okay,
yes,
how can I add more fun in my life? What do
yes,
I find fun? What is fun for me? And
yeah,
how can I add slowly? You don't want to rock the boat so hard that all of a sudden you try to find all things that are fun, but you integrate them slowly and you learn new things. And maybe going playing bowling is fun, and then you say, okay, maybe we go bowl once a month, or
well, I told her just the awareness of it
yeah,
alone will take the everyday routine activities, and I say, now while you're
raise it
doing
up
them,
a little bit.
find something fun.
Yeah,
If there's something that is totally silly about what you do every day, now you're aware that you're looking for fun every day. Your
yeah,
reticular activation is
yeah,
going and you're saying, okay, this is important to me. I'm because fun is one of my values. Enjoying life is one of my values, if you couldn't tell. So I'm the type of person that if you hang out with me, we're going to have fun no matter what, because there's just so much around you to look at and see. And all of a sudden there's a path that takes you someplace that you just like,
yeah,
why not? Let's go try it. It's not going to
yeah,
hurt
yeah,
anybody. Let's go see. It might be fun.
yeah, yeah. Makes a big difference.
And
And so,
imagine in retirement, though, if you have not assessed all of that and really looked at it, what happens? And I'm working with a lot of people that work with my ideal client. I have collaborations with financial planners,
mhm,
with Medicaid specialists,
yeah,
with
yeah,
downsizing real estate agents,
yeah,
people like that. And we're doing summits and workshops to explain to people logically. Now you have prepared for everything that's going to happen. You don't really know, but at least you know you have money. You know you have your insurance. Now let's start to think about what are the things that make you tick.
yeah.
And
Who's
let's
that person that's gonna
yes,
live in that life, right?
yes,
Like,
you're going to have a lot of time to spend with yourself.
yeah, yeah,
And if you needed all of that stuff to be filled by your job and your coworkers, what's going to happen when they're no longer in your life
yeah,
every day?
yeah. It makes a
And
big
it's
difference
sad.
because I'm sure you've heard, I've known of people, they work all their life and then they retired, and within years they die because they lost their purpose, they lost their drive, they lost their excitement, and they go
They're
into a
lonely, they're sad, they're angry.
yeah,
See, I did a lot of interviews when I was deciding on my niche, and I said, this feels like a good fit. I did a lot of interviews to get the down and dirty, real pain of what people are experiencing in retirement. And loneliness is huge, sadness is huge, and anger, because I've worked so hard.
Yeah.
This was the Shangri-La. This was the pot at the, the end of the rainbow,
Hmm.
the pot of gold. Because that's what we've been told. It's kind of like that Cinderella complex of
Yeah.
find the man of your dreams and then
Yeah.
you'll live happily ever after. Well, work very hard, put everything aside,
Then you'll
sacrifice
have a happy
your life.
retirement.
Yes, and then you'll have money and everything will work out. Well, you
The
might
pot
love
of
to
gold's
golf.
not there.
Yeah, but plus, they think, okay, I'm going to golf, I'm going to travel. Well, there's downtime in between.
Hmm.
And you got to be happy with yourself.
Yeah.
And you got to also, the other thing that I find from a lot of people is they look back and they're saying to themselves, what difference have I made in the world? Well,
Hmm.
at 60 years old, if you're starting to think about that, live your legacy now.
Yeah.
What are you doing now to change the world?
Yeah.
And it's never too late to start making a difference in, and it might not be monumental. It might be your neighbor, it might be your spouse, but whatever it is, if each one of us takes the time to share compassion, love, and
Yeah.
raising the significance of other people, that's the legacy I want to live. I've said since I was young, I think it was even in my high school yearbook, that my idea, the purpose of my life, I probably didn't say purpose, who knows at 17 years old what I said, but the idea was leave a person feeling better about themselves.
Yeah.
When I'm done having a conversation or any encounter I have with someone, it's just who I am now.
Yeah.
That it's important to me that everyone knows they matter and they make a difference. And
Yeah.
if they're struggling, that you've given them either, well, I have to, it's funny. One of the exercises I do that I absolutely love, I'll paraphrase it, is I work on identity. And that's a whole nother thing with value. The identities and the labels that we carry, that label of you can't, oh, you never were good at that. And all that
Hmm. Hmm.
nonsense that we
Hmm.
have been carrying like a big, heavy weight. I call it the albatross that
Yeah.
you just need to throw off your shoulders, or the ankle weights that keep you from flying.
Yeah.
Those things that when you were a child, before your brain was fully formed, before you're the age of 7, and you take those things in and you don't have rational judgment where you can kind of look at the situation and say, well, he didn't mean it that way because he was stressed from work. Or, when your parents say, what are you're no good, or all those things that
Hmm.
kids
Hmm.
have had to hear when they were younger. I
I
work
call
on,
that like the post-it, right? The
oh
post-it
yeah,
that were put on
yeah,
you
we're
over the
just
years, right?
all over.
And then you're
And
in the mirror and you keep reading them. Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm
yeah,
stupid.
I
I'm not
can't
good at
do
math.
that.
I
Yeah,
can't
I was
spell. I
never good.
can't.
Yeah. Yes. And to look at your identity and decide, other than, again, what you did for a living, how much money you made, all those things. My identity statement, part of it is that I am a vibrant and energetic mentor and distributor of hope,
Hmm.
who encourages and celebrates uniqueness and growth. And to me, that I remember that all the time when I'm speaking with someone, that I want people to feel that hope.
Yeah.
That no matter what the situation is, my gosh, we have a gift, and it's called our body's life, energy, the things that we get to experience every day. And even when those awful things happen, no matter what, there is hope. And
Yeah.
that there's a way of taking off all of that craziness, take off the ankle
Yeah.
weights so
Yeah.
that you can become who you want to be,
Yeah.
not
But
who you were
it takes
supposed
a lot
to be.
of, and that's a way of working with people like you and I is to, you can't do that. Like it took you years to build that crust, right?
Yeah.
And so getting started is like awareness, like you're saying, like the test you do at the beginning and the understanding where you're standing now and become aware of what's going on in your mind and your body and your environment. And then slowly, I mean, you open one door. You don't open all the doors at the same time because there'll be a floodgate, right? But you just open one door and you put a foot in and you just say, oh, I like what's there. So let's explore that. And then you work in that area. And then afterwards you say, okay, now I can step in that door and I'm comfortable. Okay, let's look at another door. And then move slowly, because often people, when they've had that, I call that like in Boston, you have lots of snow, right? And you have in the winter, you have like the groove. Everybody drives in the snow and then
Mhm.
try to change lane, and it's difficult because you have those big bump to go over, and you're always scared. Oh my God, I gotta take that exit, and it's like, oh my goodness. And but it's you just have to take your shovel. I mean, on the road's not the same, but take your shovel and build your road, build that new path that you want to go in. And once you slowly build that path, then you realize that, oh, I don't need to be in that what I used to do all the time, because that path is pretty fun. That path is rewarding. That path is how I can rock my future. That path is where I can have
Mhm.
fun in my retirement. And it's important to really move in that direction.
I'm writing that down. I love that snow analogy because
Yeah.
it's so true. And one of the many facets of my program, I have a 6-month program that I love, that is what makes it sustainable and what makes such a transformation in people, is that we have a community. So
Mm-hmm.
once a week, we do our self-study. We have an accountability buddy that is assigned. So you meet with them on a regular basis, but then we meet once a week. And the lessons learned from other people's experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I have seen so many, as Oprah, what did she call them? Aha moments,
Yeah.
light bulb
Yeah.
moments,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
I've seen from people that, especially if they're the same gender, especially with men that might have a hard time opening up,
Mm-hmm.
I'll see this, just the beam come out of their face when someone says something they didn't even realize
Yeah.
that they were experiencing, or some block that they had, and they learn from each other. And so that analogy, not only are you digging in the snow, but you've got 3 people with their shovels helping you dig
Yes.
together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that analogy because it's so true.
Mm.
We get stuck, and it's scary. When I do a discovery call, and that's one of the things I will also be offering if anybody wants to get on for a discovery call with me. We just talk about, what do you want out of life, things like that. But to me, what's so important is that we look at it and we say, you know what? It's, first of all, never too late. And I say to people that have had traumatic childhoods, it's
Yeah.
never too late to have a happy childhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we never run out of now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, what are we waiting for? All of this stuff is scary. This is not easy to look at, some of these things that you have to look at. But in order to get rid of, like
Yeah.
you said, let it go, take it off, get rid of it, and
Yeah.
start living. I, um, I've had a philosophy. My sister passed last year, but her last 5 years of her life were pretty tragic, with chronic pain and everything else. And when she got her final diagnosis of 6 months to live, I had a moment where I just got off the phone with her and I said, "That's it. I'm done with. I'm going to say yes to opportunities
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
not worry about the details. I'm just going to
Yep.
say yes. I'm going to say no to other people's opinions. I'm not going to worry about that. It's different if it might harm someone. You always consider that, but I'm not going to
Yeah. Yeah.
dictate what I do or say by, what might somebody think? But the biggest one that I love to say is, I'm going to say yes to participating in life
Yeah.
rather than observing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
And
many
wishing
people, yes,
something
they
different,
stand
right?
on the sidelines, or they
Yeah.
sleepwalk every
Yeah.
day, and you have a conversation, they say, "Well, yeah, I wish I did this, I wish I did that," or, I'll be happy when I lose, I'll be happy
Mm-hmm.
when I
Mm-hmm.
gain, I'll be happy when I get divorced,
Yeah.
I'll be
Yeah. Like
no,
I'll start dating once I lost 30 pounds, right? It's like
yes,
somebody is ready to love you right now the way you
exactly.
are.
And that is just flesh and bones, and,
Yeah.
as long as
Yeah.
you have your health,
Yeah.
obviously, but
Yeah.
the idea that so many people are observing and
Mm-hmm.
not participating
Yeah.
and looking and just saying, "Oh, that looks really nice in there." When I feel like I can do it and I'm good enough,
Yeah.
I'll participate. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
no, no, jump in there.
Wonderful. So, well, that's the great way to say that. And we could talk forever.
Yeah.
We've been here almost for 35 minutes now. So, and it sounds like that was a great tip, the last tip to talk about. So people might say, "Oh, how can I talk to Rosemary?" So let's see. You can reach her on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is like, you go LinkedIn and you search Rosemary-C. I mean, that's super simple. Lucky you to be able to have that, Rosemary-C. And then you can reach out to her, make a connection, send her a message and say, hey, I saw you on Denise's show and I'd love that free consultation. And also you're offering a gift, which is contact her on LinkedIn and say, I want my peer group assessment and a complimentary call with her, because she'll want to talk to you before she gives you my peer group assessment anyway. So just contact her, be in touch with Rosemary, and she'll be more than happy to help you move into a happy, comfortable, fulfill, joyful, and ready for any eventuality in your retirement moving forward. And get ready. I mean, it's not always easy. Like you were telling me that you had like a grandson surprise, right? I mean, there
Yeah.
was things that happened that you don't plan for, but when it happened, if you have everything aligned, if you stand on your 2 feet and you're strong, whatever stuff that happened will be a lot easier than if you're on the sideline and you're looking at life and then something hit you. It's like you're falling off because you don't have any pillar to support you. So
It's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I loved our conversation. As you
yeah.
said, good thing I don't live closer to you, because we
With
would
that,
probably have a 3-hour cup of tea, you know?
yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Rosemary. Just stay there. I'll be right back with you. I'll go say goodbye to everyone. So I hope you guys and gals, had a great time listening to this. And if you are getting close to your retirement, and if you have, like different changes in your life, things that are happening that you think will be happening and you don't know where to go, contact either Rosemary and I or both of us, and we can work and support you to move forward. And I have a gift for you also. And my gift is starting over checklist. And that allows you to do a little bit of what we've talked about today, to review your life, see the things that have changed, things like, for example, let's say the kids have left for college or they left the house and then you find that big house empty, and the different steps you can take in order to move forward and have a joyful life and discover who you are as an individual. Because a lot of time when these changes happen, we lose our identity, we lose our purpose. So we don't want, Rosemary and I, we don't want that to happen to you. So reach out. And also, as I mentioned earlier in the show, subscribe to my YouTube channel at Denise Billil under YouTube. And then you can have all the video of my previous interview. And finally, if you want to book a call with me, tiny.cc/talk with Denise. So it was a pleasure to have you on the show today, Rosemary. It was a pleasure to have you listeners listening all the way to the end. Congratulations. 2 thumbs up for you. Congratulations. And I look forward to my next interview next Monday at noon Pacific.